The morning sun pierced Luna Frostborn's eyes, just as it always did, forcing her to squint against its harsh glare as she was pulled from the dark cellar where her family had hidden her from the world. Her parents walked ahead without a glance back, their shoulders stiff with shame and disgust at having to acknowledge her, even for this brief journey. "Keep your head down," her mother hissed over her shoulder, her tone sharp with decades of buried resentment. "Don't let anyone see your cursed face more than necessary." Luna obeyed without thought. Years of conditioning had made submission instinctive. She tugged the heavy hood of her cloak lower, concealing the white hair that marked her as different, as wrong, as the Omega her parents had spent 23 years wishing had never existed. In a world of wolves, being born albino was the worst fate imaginable. Old superstitions ran deep in traditional packs like Shadowpine, where Luna's family held moderate respect and influence. A child with white hair, pale skin, and eyes that shifted between pink and pale violet in the light was considered cursed, a sign of the moon goddess's displeasure, a walking omen of bad luck. Her parents had hidden her at birth, locking her away in the cellar and telling the pack that their Omega daughter had died in infancy. For 23 years, she had lived as a ghost in her own home, brought out only to perform menial tasks when no guests were around and fed just enough to survive. But now the lies were catching up. The pack's new alpha demanded a full census, including any hidden or unregistered members. Her parents faced exile if they continued to conceal her. Instead of admitting to having an albino daughter, they chose a different route. They were going to sell her. The merchant square in neutral territory was crowded when they arrived. Wolves from various packs gathered to trade goods, and occasionally, more troublesome merchandise. Luna kept her gaze low as her father approached a disreputable dealer, a grizzled beta known for handling difficult omegas that respectable packs refused to claim. "This is her?" the dealer asked, his voice thick with skepticism as he eyed Luna's cloaked and hooded form. "You said she was defective, but I need to see the merchandise before making an offer." "Not here," Luna's father said quickly, his eyes scanning the crowd for anyone from their pack. "Too many witnesses. Let's move somewhere more private." They were led to a back alley behind the market stalls, where the stench of garbage and desperation hung thick in the air. Luna's heart pounded. This was really happening. Her parents were actually going through with it. "Show him," her mother commanded, her voice cold and detached, as if she were discussing a piece of furniture rather than her own daughter. With trembling hands, Luna pulled back her hood, revealing the features she had been taught to hide all her life: white, hair falling past her shoulders like fresh snow, skin so pale it seemed to glow in the shadows, and those unmistakable eyes that marked her as fundamentally different from other wolves. The dealer's eyes widened, then narrowed with calculation. "Albino," he muttered, circling her like livestock. "That's going to severely limit the market. Most buyers won't want something so obviously cursed." "She's not cursed," Luna's father said, though doubt laced his tone. "Just different. She's strong enough to do basic labor. Someone will find use for her." The dealer remained unconvinced. "I can offer 500. That's generous, considering how hard she'll be to move." 500? Luna's mother's voice rose with outrage. "We've paid more than that to feed and clothe her all these years. She's worth at least. She's worth what someone's willing to pay." The dealer cut her off bluntly. "And trust me, an albino omega is a hard sell. 500, take it or leave it." Luna stood frozen, listening to them haggle over her like a broken tool. The reality hit hard. Her own parents valued her so little they were willing to sell her for barely more than the cost of a used vehicle. "We'll take it," her father said finally, defeat heavy in his voice. "Just get her out of our territory and make sure no one traces her back to us." As the dealer counted out the bills, tears burned Luna's eyes. 23 years of isolation, of being told she was cursed, wrong, and shameful, and this was how it ended. Sold to a stranger who would probably lock her away somewhere even darker than the cellar she had known her whole life. "Deal's done," the dealer said, pocketing the money. "I'll move her tonight. You folks should clear out before I take her." A deep, commanding voice cut through the alley, carrying an authority that made every wolf present tense. Luna looked up, her breath catching in her throat. At the entrance of the alley stood the largest alpha she had ever seen. He was tall, powerfully built, dressed in fine clothing that marked him as a wolf of great wealth and status. But what made Luna's heart nearly stop was his appearance. His hair was white, not the gray or silver of age, but pure, fresh snow, just like hers. His skin was pale, though not as light as Luna's, and his eyes were a striking pale blue that seemed to glow from within. He was albino, like her, but instead of hiding, he stood openly, radiating absolute confidence and authority. "Who the hell are you?" the dealer demanded, hand moving toward a weapon at his belt. "I am Damien Winterfang, Alpha King of the Northern Realms." His voice was cold enough to freeze blood, and the title made everyone in the alley fall completely silent. "And I'll buy the Albino Omega. Name your price." Luna's parents went deathly pale, recognizing the name even if the dealer did not. The White Alpha King was legendary, a wolf who had risen to power despite his unusual appearance, ruling the largest territory in the northern continent with absolute authority and fiercely protecting those who were different or outcast. "Your Majesty," Luna's father stammered, bowing low. "We had no idea you were in the region. If we had known, if you had known, we would have hidden our actions better." Damien cut him off, his pale blue eyes fixed on Luna with an intensity that made her shiver. "But you didn't know. And now I've witnessed you attempting to sell your own daughter like livestock because she shares my condition." The threat in his voice was unmistakable. Luna's mother tried to salvage the situation, her tone pleading. "Your Majesty, you must understand. In our pack, albinism is considered cursed, bad luck, a sign of the goddess's displeasure." Damien's laugh was bitter, tinged with anger. "I've heard all the superstitions. I've lived with them my entire life. The difference is, I didn't let ignorant fools convince me I was worth less because of how I look." He stepped closer, each movement deliberate, predatory, until he stood directly in front of Luna. For the first time in her life, she met eyes the same color as hers, carrying the same distinctive features she had been taught to hide. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice softer now, though still commanding. "Luna." "Your Majesty," she whispered. "Luna Frostborn." "Luna." He repeated her name thoughtfully, then reached out slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. When she didn't move, he gently pushed back her hood, fully revealing her white hair and pale features. "That's a beautiful name. It suits you." The simple compliment brought tears to Luna's eyes. No one had ever called anything about her beautiful before. She had spent her life being told she was cursed, wrong, and shameful. "I'll buy her," Damien said, this time directing his words to the dealer. 10,000 right now, and you forget this transaction ever happened." 10,000? The dealer's eyes widened with greed. For an albino Omega, a rare and valuable wolf who deserved far better than being sold in back alleys by people who didn't understand her worth. Damien pulled out a wallet and counted the bills with quick efficiency. "Take the money and disappear. If I ever hear that you're trafficking Omegas again, especially those vulnerable because of physical differences, you'll answer to me personally." The dealer snatched the money and fled without another word, clearly recognizing the threat. Luna's parents tried to slip away as well, but Damien's voice stopped them cold. "Not so fast. You two aren't going anywhere until we have a conversation about what you've done." "Your Majesty, please," Luna's father begged, his earlier arrogance gone. "We were just trying to do what was best for the pack." "Having an albino in your ranks would have been an..." Honor if you hadn't been too ignorant and superstitious to recognize it. Damien's alpha presence pressed down on them, forcing both parents to their knees. You kept your own daughter locked in a cellar for 23 years because you were ashamed of her appearance. You fed her lies about being cursed when she was perfect exactly as she was. And when you couldn't hide her anymore, you tried to sell her like garbage you wanted removed. Luna watched in shock as her powerful, confident parents cowered before the White Alpha King's fury. For the first time, someone was standing up for her, defending her, treating her rejection as the crime it truly was. I should have you both arrested for child abuse and illegal trafficking, Damien continued, his voice like ice. But I think a better punishment is knowing that the daughter you considered cursed is going to have a better life than you could ever have imagined. She will be valued, protected, and treated like the precious wolf she is. And you will spend the rest of your lives knowing you threw that away because of your own prejudice and stupidity. He turned his back on them with deliberate dismissal and extended a hand to Luna. Come with me. You don't ever have to see them again. Luna stared at his outstretched hand, hardly daring to believe it was real. This powerful alpha, the king who could have anyone he wanted, was offering to take her away from the only life she had ever known. It seemed too good to be true, too perfect. I know you're scared, Damien said softly, his expression gentle despite the fury he had just shown. I know you've been conditioned to believe you're worthless and wrong, but Luna, I promise you, you are neither of those things. If you come with me, I'll spend every day proving it to you. With trembling fingers, Luna reached out and took his hand. The moment their skin touched, a shock of recognition passed between them, making both gasp. It's the mate bond, Luna realized in wonder, forming between two wolves who had both been rejected for the same reason. Impossible, her mother whispered from where she still knelt in the dirt. She can't be mated to the Alpha King. She's cursed. She's perfect, Damien interrupted, pulling Luna gently against his side in a protective, possessive gesture. And she's mine now. You can go back to your pack and tell whatever lies you want about what happened here. But know this, if I ever hear that you've mistreated another wolf for being different, if I ever hear that you've spread your poisonous superstitions to another generation, I will come back and make you wish you had never been born. Without waiting for a response, he guided Luna out of the alley toward a sleek vehicle waiting at the edge of the market square. Luna moved as if in a dream, unable to fully process the rapid shift in her circumstances. Where are we going? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper as they settled into the vehicle. Home, Damien replied simply. To the Northern Realm, where you'll be safe, valued, and free to be exactly who you are. The drive took several hours, and during that time, Damien encouraged Luna to talk about her life. At first, she was hesitant, afraid that sharing the truth about her years of isolation would somehow change his opinion of her. But he listened with patient attention, his anger growing as she described the cellar, the constant criticism, and the way she had been made to feel like a monster for something she couldn't control. They're the monsters, he said when she finished, his voice rough with emotion. Not you. Never you. But the superstitions, Luna began. They're nothing but ignorant prejudice dressed up as tradition. He cut her off firmly. Luna, do I look cursed to you? Do I seem like I've brought bad luck to my territory? She studied him carefully, taking in his obvious health, strength, and power. No, Your Majesty, you seem incredible. Call me Damien, he requested, softer now. At least when we're alone. And you're right. I'm not cursed. And neither are you. Albinism is just a genetic variation, nothing more. It makes us rare, not wrong. Special, not shameful. Then why does everyone treat us like we're monsters? She asked. Because people fear what they don't understand, he said, his expression tinged with sadness. It's easier to invent superstitions than to challenge their own prejudices. I was lucky. My parents loved me despite my appearance and raised me to be confident and strong. When I showed alpha traits, they encouraged me to develop them fully. Eventually, I became powerful enough that no one dared mock me for my white hair. I wish I'd had parents like that, Luna said quietly. I'll never understand how anyone could treat their child the way yours treated you. Damien reached over and took her hand, his touch warm and gentle. I can promise you this, you'll never be treated that way again. In my territory, in my home, you'll be valued for who you are, not judged for how you look. As they crossed into the northern realm, Luna marveled at the land. The territory was prosperous and beautiful, with well-maintained roads and wolves going about their business with ease. Passing through small towns, people waved at the vehicle in friendly recognition, clearly comfortable with and respectful of their alpha king. Your people love you, Luna observed in wonder. I try to lead with both strength and fairness, Damien explained, and I've made it clear from the beginning. In my territory, we don't tolerate discrimination or prejudice. Every wolf has value, regardless of rank, appearance, or ability. That philosophy has served us well. When they finally reached the palace, Luna was breathless. Built of white stone that seemed to glow in the afternoon sun, it looked more like something out of a fairy tale than a real building. Staff members emerged to greet them, and Luna was struck by their diversity. Wolves of all ranks and appearances working together without any visible hierarchy. Your Majesty, a kind-faced woman said with a bow, we've prepared the guest suite as requested. Does the young lady need anything specific? Luna will need a complete wardrobe, starting with comfortable clothes for now, Damien replied. Also, have the healers come by to check her over. 23 years in a cellar can't have been good for her health. Luna was led to a suite of rooms more luxurious than anything she had ever imagined. The bedroom alone was larger than the entire cellar she had lived in her whole life. Sunlight poured through the wide windows, warming the polished floors, and the bathroom looked like something taken straight from a luxury magazine. Sparkling, serene, perfect. I'll let you rest and settle in, Damien said, though she could sense he didn't truly want to leave. But I'd like to have dinner with you tonight if that's all right. We have a lot to discuss. What kinds of things? Luna asked softly, nerves tightening her voice. For one, the mate bond that formed between us in that alley. His pale blue eyes locked on hers, steady and intense. You felt it too, didn't you? Luna nodded, her hand lifting instinctively to her chest, right where that warm, invisible thread pulsed between them. I've read about mate bonds, but I never thought... She hesitated. I never thought someone like me. Someone exactly like you. Damien cut in gently but firmly. Is who the moon goddess chose for me. Think about that, Luna. After centuries of wolves calling albinism a curse, the goddess bonded two of us together. That's not bad luck. That's destiny proving all of them wrong. When he finally left the suite, Luna spent a long time just walking through the rooms, touching things, breathing, trying to understand this new life that had unfolded in a single day. The healers came next. Kind, efficient, reassuring, astonished at how healthy she was, despite 23 years of poor food and almost no sunlight. After them came the wardrobe staff, carrying armful after armful of clothing in soft colors that highlighted her delicate beauty instead of hiding it. For the first time, when Luna stood before the mirror, she didn't flinch. She didn't see something broken. She didn't see something cursed. She saw a young woman with snow-white hair, luminous, pale eyes, and features that were striking in their rarity. She saw what Damien saw. Something special. Dinner that night was quiet and warm. Just the two of them in a private dining room with towering windows overlooking the mountains. Damien had changed into comfortable clothes, and without the formality, he looked younger, more human, more real. "Tell me about your life," Luna said as they ate. "How did you become Alpha King? Despite everything? Despite being albino?" His smile was dry, edged with old memories. "It wasn't easy. I faced the same prejudice you did. The only difference was my parents. They loved me fiercely. They protected me. They taught me to be confident, even when the world wasn't." He leaned back slightly, gaze drifting toward the window. "When I came of age and showed alpha traits, I had to work twice as hard as every other alpha. Every victory was doubted. Every decision picked apart. Everyone waiting for proof I was flawed, weak, defective. But you overcame it all," Luna whispered. "I did," he said simply. "And eventually I became powerful enough that no one dared dismiss me because of how I looked." "When the previous Alpha King died without an heir, the Council of Pack Leaders chose me," Damien explained. "Some voted because they believed in my abilities. Others voted because they assumed I'd be easy to control." His smile sharpened. "They were wrong." "What's it like?" Luna asked softly. "Being able to stand in the sun without shame, being valued, even though you look different?" "It's freedom," he answered simply. "And it's what I want to give you, Luna. Not just freedom from your parents and that cellar, but the freedom to exist without apologizing for who you are." They talked long into the night, sharing the kind of truths only two albino wolves could fully understand. Luna listened as Damien described the organization he had created, one dedicated to helping wolves who were different, misunderstood, or cast aside. He worked to educate others about genetic variations and challenge the superstitions that had harmed wolves like them for generations. "I want to do something like that," Luna said suddenly, surprising even herself. "I want to help people going through what I went through. I want to prove that being albino doesn't make you cursed or weak." Damien's eyes brightened with unmistakable approval. "That's an incredible goal. And as my mate, you'll have the platform and resources to change lives." The word mate settled between them, heavy and unmistakable. Luna set down her glass and met his gaze head on. "Is that what I am? Your mate?" "The bond formed the moment we touched," he said, voice low and sincere. "And it's only grown stronger since then." "Can you feel it, Luna? That connection between us?" She could. It felt like a golden thread stretched from her heart to his. Warm, steady, unbreakable. "I feel it," she whispered. "But I don't understand why the moon goddess would choose me for you. You're an Alpha King. And I'm just a broken Omega who spent her life in a cellar." "You're not broken." Damien stood, moved around the table and knelt beside her chair. He took her hands gently in his. "You're a survivor. You endured 23 years of abuse and isolation, and somehow you still have compassion, still have hope. That isn't weakness, Luna. That's extraordinary strength." "But I don't know how to be a queen," she confessed, the fear she'd been holding back finally slipping out. "I don't know politics or leadership or how to run a territory. I don't know how to be what you need." "What I need," he said firmly, "is exactly who you are. Yes, there will be things to learn. Yes, it will be challenging. But you have something no training can give. True empathy for the suffering, real understanding of what it means to be overlooked and mistreated. Those qualities will make you an incredible queen when you finally learn to trust yourself." Tears filled Luna's eyes, yet again, for what felt like the 100th time that day. "Why are you being so kind to me?" Luna whispered. "Because you deserve kindness," Damien replied without hesitation. "Because I know what it feels like to be judged for something you can't control. Because the moment I saw you in that alley, My wolf recognized its mate, and every instinct I have tells me to protect you and cherish you. He reached up and gently brushed her tears away. And because beneath all those years of conditioning and cruelty is a strong, capable wolf who just needs someone to believe in her. Luna instinctively leaned into his touch, drawn to the warmth and acceptance she had never been offered before. "I'm scared," she confessed. "Scared of failing you, of disappointing you, of proving everyone right who said I was worthless." "Then we'll be scared together," Damien said simply. "Because I'm terrified too. Terrified that I won't be able to undo what your parents did. Terrified I won't be enough to help you heal. Terrified of letting you down after everyone else already has." The honesty in his voice made her heart swell. The Alpha King, strongest wolf in the Northern Territories, was admitting fear, showing her that strength wasn't the absence of fear, but the courage to admit it. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "Now we take things slowly," he said. "You'll settle into your new life, learn about the territory and your place in it. We'll spend time together as people, not just mates. And as you heal, as you grow stronger, we move forward, side by side." "And if I never get strong enough?" she whispered. "If I'm always just a broken Omega who—" "Luna." He stopped her gently, pressing a finger to her lips. "You are not broken. Say it with me." I'm not broken." Her voice trembled, years of conditioning fighting back. "Again," Damien urged softly. "I am not broken." The words felt slightly easier, almost believable. "One more time. I am not broken." This time it burst from her with unexpected force, and something deep inside her seemed to crack open, like a shell of shame and self-loathing finally beginning to split. "There she is," Damien murmured proudly. "There's the strong wolf I knew was waiting beneath all that pain." He cupped her cheek gently. "Hold on to that feeling, Luna. Remember that you are worthy, valuable, and perfect, exactly as you are." In the weeks that followed, Luna slowly settled into her new life in the Northern Realm. Damien kept his promise to move at her pace, giving her room to explore, learn, and breathe without pressure or expectation. Luna spent her days meeting tutors who taught her pack politics and territorial law, healers who helped her rebuild the strength years in a cellar had stolen from her, and staff members who treated her with a level of respect and kindness that still felt almost unreal. But her favorite moments were the quiet hours with Damien, walking the grounds, sitting in his study while he worked, or talking late into the night about everything and nothing. He never pushed her toward the mate bond or the responsibilities of a queen before she was ready. But his patience, his steady confidence in her, made her want to grow into the partner he deserved. About a month after her arrival, she found him standing on the palace balcony, gazing up at the full moon. She stepped beside him in silence, and for a long moment, they simply existed together. Two white-haired wolves, bathed in silver light. "Do you know what I see when I look at you?" Damien said suddenly. "What?" she whispered. "I see the moon goddess's greatest masterpiece, a work of art so beautiful that lesser wolves mistake it for a flaw. I see the other half of my soul, the partner I didn't even know I was waiting for." He turned to face her fully, pale blue eyes glowing in the moonlight. "I see my queen." Tears filled her eyes, but for the first time in her life, they were tears born of joy. "And I see my salvation," she whispered back. "I see the Alpha who showed me I wasn't cursed. I see my mate, my future, my home." When he kissed her, it felt like stepping into a place she had never been yet, had somehow always belonged. The mate bond flared, bright, warm, permanent, settling into something unbreakable. And in that instant, Luna finally understood what the moon goddess had known from the beginning. She wasn't cursed. She was blessed. blessed with a rare beauty not everyone could understand, blessed with strength forged through years of survival, blessed with a mate who saw her clearly in ways no one else ever had. Will you accept me? Damien asked when they broke apart, his voice thick with feeling. Will you be my mate, my queen, my partner in all things? Yes, Luna said without hesitation. 1,000 times, yes. The celebration that followed their official mating announcement was unlike anything she had ever imagined. Wolves from every corner of the territory came to see their alpha king bind himself to his chosen mate. The collective joy and acceptance washed over her like sunlight, overwhelming in the best possible way. But the most significant moment came when her parents appeared. Drawn by rumors of the ceremony, hoping to reconcile now that their daughter was about to become queen. Damien gave Luna the choice, and she chose to face them one last time. Luna, her mother began, her voice thick with false sweetness. We've been so worried about you. When we heard you were here with the Alpha King, you thought you could profit from the daughter you tried to sell? Luna cut in, her voice sharp and steady in a way she had never heard from herself before. You thought that now that I'm about to become queen, you could suddenly benefit from a relationship you spent 23 years destroying. We're your parents, her father tried weakly. Surely you can forgive. I can forgive you, Luna said, feeling Damien's steady presence beside her, grounding her, strengthening her. But I won't forget. And I won't allow you back into my life. You had 23 years to love me, and you chose to lock me in a cellar instead. Now I have a family that actually values me, and there's no place in it for people who think I'm cursed. As palace security escorted her parents away, Luna felt something inside her finally break free. The last ties to her old life snapped clean. She was no longer the hidden albino Omega locked in darkness. She was Luna Winterfang, queen of the Northern Realm, mate to the most powerful alpha in the territories, living proof that being different was something to honor, not fear. On the night of their mating ceremony, as she and Damien stood before the gathered packs and spoke their vows, Luna scanned the crowd and saw dozens of wolves who were different in their own ways. Wolves with unusual markings, rare traits, disabilities, unique appearances, all welcomed, all valued, all unafraid. This is what we're building, Damien whispered as the ceremony neared its end. A world where every wolf is valued for who they are, not judged for what they look like. A world where the next albino pup isn't hidden away in shame, but celebrated for the blessing they are. I love you, Luna whispered back, the words now effortless. Thank you for seeing me when everyone else turned away. Thank you for taking my hand in that alley, he replied softly. Thank you for trusting me when you had every reason not to trust anyone. Thank you for being exactly who you are. When they sealed their bond with a kiss, sparks of magic shimmered in the air around them. Luna felt it surge through her. Freedom, belonging, strength, and something bright and warm that felt like destiny. She thought about how far she had come. From a cellar to a palace, from cursed to cherished, from forgotten Omega to celebrated queen. And all because of 3 simple words spoken by the only wolf who could understand her pain. I'll buy her. 3 words that had shattered her prison. 3 words that had led her to healing, love, and a future brighter than anything she had dared to imagine. The white Alpha King and his white queen, 2 wolves the world once called cursed, now stood together as living proof that sometimes the most extraordinary blessings arrive disguised as misfortune. And somewhere, the moon goddess smiled at her creation, knowing she had chosen perfectly when she bound their souls as one. They weren't cursed. They never had been. They were rare, special, precious. Exactly what they were always meant to be. And together, They would change the world for every wolf who had ever been told they were less than perfect because they dared to be different.